There are four major types of bonds in Nigeria, four major types of bonds. And the reason for this video is to enlighten us on the one that is safe and secured that we can invest our money into, because it is not the four types of bond that is safe and secured to invest your money into. And you may not know, you may just say it is bond, and we have different kinds of bonds. So quickly, let's look at the four types of bonds in Nigeria. And I'll give my take at the end of the video on which one is the safest type of bond and the one you should invest into. It is not a financial advice, it is just a financial opinion. Let's go into it. Number one is sovereign bonds. It is called sovereign bonds. The example of this kind of bond is the FGN savings bond. The one that they issue monthly, the one for this month was issued last week. If you are yet to watch a video on FGN bonds, we've made a 3-part video on FGN bonds. Everything you need to know about FGN bonds is in our playlist, so you can check our playlist on finance and watch it, please, before you invest in FGN bonds. So sovereign bonds is the first type of bond, and the example of it is the FGN bonds. It is backed up by the full faith of the government. That is number one. Number two is called subnational bonds. Subnational bonds. Unlike treasury bills, that state governments are not allowed to issue treasury bills. For bonds, state governments are allowed to issue bonds. Local governments are allowed to issue bonds. So when you are investing in bonds, you need to understand, is it FGN bonds or state bonds or local government bonds? Because especially now that the local government have been given autonomy, now they are permitted again to issue bonds, since they have an allocation coming from the federal government directly into their accounts, according to the Supreme Court verdicts. So I hope you understand, because subnational bonds is hinged on ISPO. It is called irrevocable standing payment order, which means peradventure they default, they give the government, the federal government, a guarantee to deduct that amount from their federal allocation, from their monthly allocation. Yes. So it is hinged on that. That is what the bonds is hinged upon, their allocation. So now that they have an autonomy again, especially the local government, it is possible you see local government issuing bonds. So, but at the end, just like I said, I'm going to give my take on the most preferred type of bond. Number three, it is called government agency bonds. Government agencies, ministry, departments, as long as they are solid, as long as they are concrete, they have the advantage of issuing bonds. Maybe they want to finance a project, they want to raise money for a particular project. They have the right to issue bonds to the public at an interest rate. So it is possible you see this kind of bond as well, and you may want to buy, you may want to invest in such bonds. So you need to understand that we also have government agency bonds. So when you are investing in bonds, ask yourself, which kind of bond am I investing into? What is the number four? Number four is called the corporate bonds. Corporate bonds. This is the private sector bonds. You see banks, you see companies issuing bonds, especially when they want to raise short-term capital. They want to raise working capital for their business. They raise corporate bonds as well. And at times they also raise long-term bonds, 2 to 100 years bonds. But that one has a different treatment entirely. Corporate bonds. Corporate bonds is different from commercial paper. I'll be talking about commercial paper maybe in one of the videos. I'm already planning for hits on commercial paper, how to invest in commercial papers. Let me give my own take on my opinion on the best type of bond. The best type of bond that you should go for at any point in time is the sovereign bond, which is the example of the FGN bonds, because that is the safest type of bonds that we have in Nigeria. Every other types of bond is subject to risk, And we have 3 types of risk. I'll be talking about it in the next video. So try and watch the next video where I'll be talking about the 3 types of risk that these investments, that these bonds are subject to. They are subject to 3 types of bond, because it's possible you may want to invest in corporate bonds. For instance, Dangote, for instance, I think issued a bond sometimes ago, early this year or so. Is it early this year or late last year? So what if you want to invest in this type of bond? You need to be aware of the risk that is involved, unlike the FGN bonds that does not have any risk. But maybe you want to master investments and you want to know the different kinds of bonds that we have, the different kinds of investments, so that you can have multiple sources of passive income. So you may want to watch the next video that I'm going to be making. I'll be dropping it tomorrow, which is types of risk involved when you are investing in the 3 remaining types of bonds: the subnational bonds, the government agency bonds, the corporate bonds. But as for the first one, which is the sovereign bonds, there's no risk involved. The moment the government cannot pay your money, it shows that something is wrong with the country. It means the country is at the verge of collapsing. So that is just it, and we don't pray that happens to Nigeria. So I hope I've been able to enlighten us on the 4 types of bonds that we have in Nigeria, and that it is the first one, which is the sovereign bonds, example of FGN bonds, that is the most secured, the safest form of investment bond in Nigeria. If you are yet to subscribe to this channel, kindly do by clicking on the subscribe button and click on the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we release a new video. Give it a like if it has helped you. It helps the algorithm to tell more people about this video. So we meet in our next video. Stay blessed.